guys, it's Katie with String Expert. Today we're working on part 2 of Hark The Herald, the Angels Sing. Now in the last video we learned all about part 1, which is the main melody of the piece, and it is amazing. Let me play part 1 for you and then we'll start working on part 2. It is more of the softer, mellow, thoughtful section of the entire piece. Now the next section, it sort of builds into this big, bright, beautiful grand finale. So we start slower and quieter, and then we sort of get bigger, and then we kind of move around from there. So let me play part 2 for you, and then we'll start learning it. As you can hear, part 2 is a building point for the grand finale. So let's get started by learning the notes. So what we're going to do is we're going to play D, third finger on the A string for 3 notes, the first 3 notes. Then we're going to play G, third finger on the D string. So one trick that I love to do is when I play, I put my third finger on the A string and then I just roll it over to the G for the next note over for that G third finger note. Another option, if you have bigger fingers than what I have, is you can actually put your fingers on both strings and do your third finger on here and your third finger on here for this piece. This is going to make it a lot easier. If you try and lift your finger up and hit the next note over, it's not going to work as well because that time that you're going to lose is really, really important. So I would recommend either rolling your finger over or putting your finger on both strings at the same time. So let's try that third finger D for 3 notes. Then roll your finger over for the G. So try that a few more times. And then moving on, we have a low second finger. So remember, we're in the key of D major. So we're gonna have a high second finger on the G string and the D string, and a low second finger on the A string and the E string, meaning that our second finger is gonna be right next to our first finger here, as opposed to on the D and the G, where our second finger is gonna be high up next to our third finger. So let's go ahead and play our low second finger for C natural. We have first finger for B, and then B and A. And let's try those 2 measures together. Now, I would play this in a dynamic of a mezzo forte. So it's a little bit louder than what we're gonna play next. So the next 2 measures are the exact same notes, but we're going to do what's called an echo. So we're gonna play them extremely quietly as sort of like an echo of the sound. And the notes are exactly the same. So the first measure is 3 Ds and a G, and the second measure is C, B natural, and A. So let's try the whole section together from the beginning of the second part. Like that. And then moving on, I would recommend, if you're using the 4th finger, to go ahead and use the 4th finger for this E. Now you can do an open E string sound. It'll sound bright and cheery and really loud, but I like the fact that the tonal colors stay the same when you use a fourth finger on that same string. So for me, my personal preference is to use a fourth finger. If you prefer to use an open E string, you can with that piece. Okay, so we have open E, open E, open E, or fourth finger, fourth finger, and a D. So let's try the entire part 2 section with the next measure. And then moving on, we have a low second finger for C natural, then we have a first finger for B, and back to the C natural. And let's try that entire section with part 2. B natural, C natural, D, and then roll your finger over again for a third finger, G on the D string. So let's try that nice and slow. A natural, B first finger, low second finger for C natural, D third finger, and then roll your finger over for G. So doing that whole measure a little bit faster. A little bit interesting. So we have an open A for the first note. Then we have B and C, a very fast 8th note slur all the way to the top of the bow. Then we have D, third finger on the A string as a whole single bow. And then shoot your bow back, so go from this G, and it's only an 8th note, so you're going to have to fly to get back to the end of the bow. So let's try that entire measure. Try the entire part 2 section. And then we have G, third finger on the D string, open A, B, first finger on the A string. Let's try that again. And let's play the entire part 2 section. This one's a little bit longer than part 1, huh? All right, here we go. We have fourth finger on the A string for E, 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 and of course you can also do open E if you prefer. So fourth finger, fourth finger, fourth finger, and then D. One more time, fourth finger, fourth finger, fourth finger, D. And going back to the beginning of part 2. Finger for C natural, B first finger, and back to C natural. And your C and your B are slurred together in the same bow. And going back to the beginning of part 2. open A, B, first finger, low second finger for C, D, third finger, G, roll your finger over to the G string. I'm sorry, the G note. Let's try that again. A, first finger B, low second finger for C, third finger D, roll your finger over for G. One more time. And going back to the beginning of part 2. G, A, G. And the same thing with these last 3 notes. I'm going to use my 4th finger. So of course, remember when you're using your 4th finger, make sure that it's curved and nice and round on the string. So we have G, A, G. Well, that's the entire part 2 section. Let me play it for you. Ready? Thanks so much for watching. Next time we're going to go through part 3 where we learn how to put the entire piece all together. We'll see you next time.